So I'm sitting with Rachel Lynch of the Urban Factory and many other things as well. Rachel, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and what you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I say, my name is Rachel Lynch and I'm the director of the Community Network, which is a non-profit organisation in South Tyneside. Throughout the business, we operate multiple sites. So we manage Mortimer Community Centre and, like I said, the Urban Factory, which is based in Heaven, just up the road. And I'm also the founder of North East Cheer, and it's North East Cheer that actually building the North East Cheer programme is what led then to the Urban Factory. So I set up as a cheerleading coach in many years ago actually. We're just moving into season 19, so 2006 we set up North East Cheer, which is a cheerleading programme. There wasn't a lot of cheerleading programs around.
Yeah, it wasn't fresh as what it is now.
No, like we were the first in the area. Yeah. We actually weren't called North East Cheer at the time, we were just South Tyneside. Started off as a little programme.
Temple Park, is that what we started?
Actually, before that though, before even Temple Park, we were just in Lake School, like a little, just a little primary school. We grew and then we grew a little bit further and then we moved into Temple Park for a good couple of years, to be fair, but at that point we were like, do you know what, we either need to realise that that's it, we can't grow any further, or we'll try and get our own facility. So because I'd already had the Community Network, which is our non-profit organisation, I was in a really good position to be able to approach funders and investors to be able to bring them on board and support the concept of the Urban Factory, which was to create basically a really unique sporting venue in the northeast for children, which focused on not just cheerleading, but we've got parkour, which is like free running, gymnastics. We now even have dance running in there now with the local dance school. We offer sessions for parent and toddler, SEN groups, everything like that. So my actual funders contacted me. I don't know if anyone knows this, but they actually said, Rachel, like, we've already given you or funded all these different projects. Like, if you want to have investment, what would you do with it? And I was like, do you really want to know? Like, and they were like, go on, like, pitch it. So I pitched the concept of this multi-activity physical hub, and they just absolutely loved it. And they said, okay, like, let's move forward. So it took maybe it's about 18 months, 2 years, you know, through going through business audits and business planning and all these background checks and everything. But we were really successful and fortunate in the end to be given the investment of £150,000. And then we were had some match funding through Sport England of £50,000, so we were able to have quite a large budget to be able to open the Urban Factory and create the facility that we've got. It is one of the largest gyms. It's one of the only types really in the country, but it's one of the largest gyms, not just for cheerleading, but for parkour as well. So it's a great facility. We started, literally opened the doors with about 80 kids. On that day, like, I think I was mad when I look back and think, what was I doing? I was just so I just really knew at the time that like it was going to grow, like literally build it and they will come. Like, that is it. I was like absolutely adamant that this was the right thing to do. We started with 80 and we've got well over 800 now. Like, families on subscription. We've got over 1,000 families that come to our parent and toddler classes throughout the day. So we really have created like that family feel and that network of that, which is what I wanted basically. So from something that started with, you know, a couple of kids in a school hall has just built up to this 13,500 square foot massive facility that is now just attracting people from all over the region.
But it came with a lot of blood, sweat and tears. I mean, obviously we've known each other for a long time, and this dream has been in place for how long?
Oh, like, absolutely.
It didn't just happen like that?
No, like, absolutely not. Like I say, we were at other local facilities for years, and it was something that I really wanted, and I was getting a little bit frustrated actually. I think lots of business owners can kind of relate to that, where you're like, at the time of like, something has to change in order for it to change, and I didn't really know what it was, and we couldn't grow any further with where we were, and I didn't really know where I needed to go, and I was a bit lost, if I'm honest. Like, I knew I had the potential to grow, and I had that burn and desire to make it happen, but I just didn't quite have it. And then I was randomly contacted by two amazing women called Ali and Andrea, and they run a cheerleading program and like a cheerleading competition events company. And they said, hey, we've got like, they're Americans, so they're like, hey Rachel, we've got this opportunity. And I was like, shoot, like, go on, tell us. And shoot. They were like, basically, do you want to come to Dallas for like a week and spend a week with this amazing cheer program called Cheer Athletics? Do you want to come in for a week and just learn how they do things? Like, they're the biggest program in the world, like multi-million pound company, dollar company. They've got franchises all over. They're like, do you want to come in and spend a week with them, see the teams, meet the owners, ask any questions? And I was like, absolutely. So like, you know, this was about 7 years ago, literally on a plane, on my own, travelled to Dallas, never done anything so stupid in my life, but it was the best thing because it just took us out of the environment and into something that showed the growth and the potential of something that could be out there. So while I was over there, that's when I created basically set myself goals, and I was like, right, I want to get my gym within the next 5 years. I want to have a world's program within 7 years, like have a world's level team within 7 years. I want to do this, I want to do that. Looked at the impact that we're having in the area, and at the time we were just called South Tyneside. And I was like, no, I need to move. This needs to be bigger.
Branch it,
The advice at the time actually from one of the guys was like, don't put your name on it and don't put your location, like your town on it or anything like that, because you're then just stuck. But, which I do get, but I was so passionate about creating opportunities for people in the Northeast, because we don't get enough opportunities. Like, we just don't. The children up here and the young people up here don't get the opportunities that the South get. And even if you look at cheerleading, there's significantly less programs up here than the South. So for me, if I wanted to grow, it would be to grow around the Northeast, not any further out of the Northeast. So we rebranded the Northeast Cheer for that reason. And then when I came back, it was like I just had this fire in my belly to grow. That was it. I just had this huge fire in my belly to be like, this is how we're going to do things. So basically it happened. Like, I just didn't give up.
So obviously kind of starting from small to getting bigger, to get more own space, which I know you kind of manifested for a long time, has come with challenges, like any business has.
Absolutely.
And I know you've got two arms. So we have the Urban Factory, which is a venue running itself.
Yeah.
We have another venue as well, where we started off, and we also have the cheerleading side of things. So in essence, you're in charge of three facilities at this point in time. How do you manage the integration of the three and also the separation of the three?
Yeah, well actually we've also got an additional revenue stream as well, which is the school sports network as well.
Right,
so we do have multiple areas to manage, and it is difficult, but I think the key is making sure that you've got good systems in place, good structure and good staffing around you to be able to implement all of them things. And I think without them three things, and at times one goes to pot, and then you have to kind of invest a little bit more time, like, you know, you're like, oh, the systems aren't quite working, the structure isn't quite there, and then you've got to go back in, especially as you grow to the next phase. You know, like sometimes you'll get those growing pains in business and you've got to go in and fix them. So having the good structures, the good systems, good staffing has been really imperative to be able to do that. But I think what I've learned the most is that I can't be doing everything, because if I am doing everything, I'm actually not doing anything very well. So I really have to take a step back and look at the things that I'm doing that aren't actually moving the business forward. And at that point, when I feel like my workload is getting too much, that's the time when I think, okay, there's something not right here with the system or the structure. How can I bring more staff in to help us grow? So,
and how do you identify the areas of, right, this is the job role that I'm doing that I don't need to do, or this is who I now need to employ? How do you identify that job role?
So I focus on my area within the business is to focus on the growth and the vision of the business. And I think sometimes, so this is a little bit different to how maybe some business owners look at it, which is we're told all of the time that we shouldn't be working in the business, and we've got to work on the business. But actually, when you come from a passion-led business, for example, you love to coach cheerleading, and you're told to not work in the business as much and you work on the business, you kind of lose your passion. So for me, it's about focusing on the bits in the business that light my fire. So if I'm finding that I'm struggling to do something, then it's a sure intention that it's boring us and I'm not getting anything out of it. So it isn't just about working on the business, it's about working within the business on the things that really light your fire. And then if you can then find the staff in your business to work on the things that are within their super strength and their passion, then that's when you get a passion-filled business of staff that are actually doing something for you, rather than just thinking, oh well, I've got to now do this part. I've got to, I've got to grow to a CEO level, so then I've got to do this part. It's not like, I think you just have to look at all the jobs that happen in the business. So I created like a spreadsheet, and it was literally like all the different functionalities of the business. So it was like marketing, and then all the things that have to happen in the business under marketing, and then it was like communication to parents and all the different things that has to happen, coaching, the venue, like health and safety, policies and procedures, and literally listed all of them things and highlighted within there like what really lights my fire, like what do I have to do, but also what lights my fire. And out of the things that I have to do, where can I get help for it? And out of the bits that really light my fire, is there anything that really again I have to do, where can I get some help within that? And I think that was important. And then also within that, not putting the staff like within a box, like when you have like a title and it's like, well, that's head of communication, so that all has to be under that person, and it's like, is that person still the right person for that job within that?
Would you set like an organisation chart out first, and then job roles between each one, and then try and pinpoint which person's going to be doing that job role? Or is it you try and get that person in the right fit with the role that you're after?
It's about, so we do have a bit of a joke in the businesses, which is whatever job you come in for is never the job that you're going to end up in. That's because I believe moulding the job role around the skill set of the staff is more important than being like, this is the list of things that you're going to do, who's going to do it, because you have to. And I don't know whether that's because I'm passion fueled and I would hate to be in a job that bores us. And maybe that's because of my ADHD, I don't know, but I have to.
Shall we talk about that in a second?
Absolutely.
You've actually, how old are you now?
25.
25, exactly.
41.
But obviously you've just been diagnosed with ADHD, haven't you? You've actually paid for the test yourself and gone through, and kind of what was the outcome?
So
and also the reason why you did that.
And I think it's really important, because I think a lot of business owners have absolutely might have ADHD. Because I mean, for me, I'm completely unemployable because I like to do my own thing. I like to do things in my own way. So the reason it came about is I'd always refer to myself as having an ADHD brain, always. Like, even I would just often lose my keys, lose my phone. Like personal organisation isn't my strength. My strength is business organisation and like growth and creative thinking. So I was always a little bit all over the place. So I would always refer to that as that. And then it was just a phone call from my son's school saying, it was in year 11, and they were like, actually, he's now getting to the point where he's distracting other people, and it was never a problem before it. We think he might have ADHD. And I was like, he doesn't have ADHD, he's just like me. He's just a carbon copy of me. So I was like quite annoyed at the time. And then lockdown happened, and for a period of maybe it's only 2 weeks, he was in year 11, so their exams got cancelled. But for a little while I had to home educate, and I was like, oh my good lord. Like, how have they waited till year 11 to raise this as an issue? And he's like tapping his knee, clicking his pen, he's like, Mum, do you know there's like 36 tiles on the ceiling? And I was like, yes, I do, because I counted myself, but why are you doing it? Like, and then the kind of like started to snowball, and I was thinking, oh God, and I started researching it, and I was thinking, okay, I do think he has ADHD, like where does he get it from? And I was doing more research, and I was like, oh, it's me. He gets it from me. Like, I had all the symptoms, and I just hadn't identified it because I'm high functioning within it. And I think ADHD is typically identified as like young boys who are bouncing around, and that is a type of ADHD, but there's 3 types of ADHD, and I wasn't aware of that. And I think if more people know about it, they might be able to support themselves. So there's the hyperactivity, which is the part that people most commonly know, and that does probably affect more boys. But then there's inattentiveness, which is the daydreaming, or like lack of attention and lack of focus, or then there's combined, which is all 3 together. And I'm more inattentive with hyperactive traits, But me and my son both have combined types. But it can display itself in other manners. Like, I never stop moving my hands when I'm talking. I've normally got like a bobble on my hand that I would fidget. I talk really fast. And they're all signs of ADHD. So like I'm quick to think, like I'll talk faster than I think. Yeah. You know, like they're just things like that. So finding out was like, it was a really unusual experience. Like I feel like I experienced grief at the point of where I was like, God, if I'd known sooner, how far ahead could I have been? And in my diagnosis with my consultant, he said, Rachel, to the outside world, you are really successful. Like he said, there's nobody that would look at you and think you haven't achieved anything that you want to achieve. But he said repeatedly in my consultation and in my diagnosis process, I referred to, I just feel like I haven't scratched the surface. I haven't achieved greatness. I haven't done as much as I possibly can. And he said, you've got an opportunity now. You can keep going the way that you're going, or you can really use this to open your eyes and open your doors to the potential and look at the things that actually have potentially been holding you back. And he said, like, that is the ADHD. That is you knowing you can do so much more. The outside world thinking you're doing great, but you internally thinking, I know I've got more inside of me, but I don't know how to always organise my thoughts to that next level, or to be able to push myself that little bit further. Because when you do have ADHD and you've got all these wild and crazy ideas, you do then sometimes just get that crash and burn.
Do you ever feel,
and it's that cycle.
Do you ever feel at the end of the day that you're exhausted?
Well, at the end of the day, I've got the most amount of energy. My brain doesn't stop thinking until about 1, 2 in the morning. So in the morning, I am absolutely exhausted. And I never understood it until I had got the diagnosis, and my doctor was explaining to us that that's because I work late, so my mind's on the go. And he said, so therefore it's okay not to be that 5 a.m. hotshot morning person, because your body and energy is so low in the morning. You've just got to find your way. And accepting that now is like, has changed everything, because I do, like, if my brain decides it wants to create something at 10 o'clock at night, then I'll just go with it now, and not feel like I shouldn't have to do that.
And then what about on the slump, sort of kind of on the morning side of things? If you are tired, do you give yourself that little bit of breathing space to say, well, I'm just going to relax for a little bit and then I'll go into work afterwards?
I don't often start work before 10 o'clock. It's not that I'm not awake, so I'll be awake between 7 and 8 o'clock every day, like nobody just wakes up. It's that my brain just doesn't quite function. It's not there yet.
But it can't function 24 hours a day. It's got to have rest periods.
And if you think somebody's ADHD brain is like on the go 24/7, it's like having, you know, when people look at your laptop and you've got 20 tabs open, that is the brain of somebody with ADHD. Like, they can jump from thought to thought. Like, we were on a plane, me and my husband were going on a plane, and I was reading something whilst also listening to a movie, and he was like, which one are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing both. And he was like, you can't. And I was like, I absolutely can, but I am. And I was watching a movie and I was reading a magazine, and he was like, I don't get it. And of course you don't, but that's how that brain, it's just busy. So you can't be 100% all of the time, and you have to have it. But I find what used to happen is that my brain would, or my capacity, like my bandwidth would just like implode, and I just couldn't get anything done, but it might last for a couple of months. So I'd have this really highly creative time where I would launch something, I would do something, and then off the back of it I would just absolutely retreat back into myself. But now that I know what that is, I can kind of manage my time a little bit better. So I'll be able to openly say to my staff, like, guys, my brain isn't working this week. Like, it can't make a decision. Like, the executive function has dysfunctioned. You're not getting nothing out of it. So I now can switch the tasks to things that I can get on with. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and is that because you've got the diagnosis, so you kind of get an understanding of what you actually go through? Because it's like a superpower in essence.
Like, it absolutely is, in that I'm quick to think. I can create great opportunities, and I can give us an idea, and I'll literally give it arms, legs, and everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can go so far with it. But on the other end, when your brain doesn't work, it's hard. And I think if people haven't got that diagnosis and they're just at that brick wall and they don't know how to break it down, it's like you can't break that wall down. You actually have to pick it out, like, brick by brick. So like, if you're standing at as someone with ADHD, or even anyone who isn't diagnosed, they're just massively overwhelmed and they're just there standing in front thinking, I can't move any further. It's not about that grind. Like you just can't do that. You've just got to be like what is the problem? Like, go and deal with that a little bit, go and deal with that, like unpick it a little bit at a time, and then slowly, like, that brick wall come down, and then you're like, right, bang. And it's like about riding your dopamine levels, really. So like when I am productive, I'm like, I'm off, like, don't disturb us, I'm in creation mode. And then when I'm on the way back down, I'm like, right guys,
take over.
You just need to get on with it.
So speaking of the team, how do the team kind of react to that as well? And this isn't a podcast about neurodiverse or anything, but it obviously fits in really well. But how do the team then know when to leave you alone and let you kind of get your creative juices flowing, and then they know something's coming, so we've got to be ready for what's coming next?
That absolutely, it's normally off the back of a holiday. So like basically when I've been on holiday, I come back and they're like, oh, she'll be off on one. That's actually what is happening right now. I've had my little time away, I've came back, we're ready for like a new season, team selections, they'll absolutely know I'll be ready to go and raring to go. And I think they're just now used to it, like, because even before diagnosis it was always there, and it was always like,
if I only had the background noise.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so it's obviously just started lashing down.
That is actually crazy.
So I can hear this. Do you know when you talk about focusing and things?
Yeah.
My focus just went straight to that noise, and I was like, bloody hell. If you can pick that up, that's the rain. That's what that is.
Crazy.
So yeah, sorry, you were saying.
So I think the staff they just know, like they're just there. But I have to be honest with them as well and just say, like, you know, I'm not able to think much. And I think having that open and honest conversation with staff does really help as well.
So on a challenging level, do the staff say it is a challenge? Because you can go from idea to idea to idea. I mean, I'll give you an example, because I'm positive that I'm very similar. I'll change my mind from, like, what weekend, it's just and I had a chat with Dawn earlier on. I had an idea, and she went, "You're too flighty." I went, "I know, I'm very flighty." We have a giggle about it, but I'll go from idea to idea to idea to idea, and then try and, it's up to the guys to kind of see it through. Do you kind of then come up with the idea, then lead and deliver it, or do you kind of then lead, give it to someone else to deliver, and then they report back to you? What's your style?
So at first, I used to be like, I've got an idea, go. And then over the last 2 years now, what I've started to realise is, firstly, I have now a spreadsheet where I just put all my ideas in.
Oh, okay.
So I go back to it. That's just for me, a personal thing, like, I can write them down and I just leave them there, because then I know that I've put them somewhere, so I'm not going to forget about them. And then I'll ask myself some like really basic questions, like, 1, is it going to move my business forward? 2, does it align with my values? And 3, is it going to be highly profitable for the business? And if it ticks them 3 boxes, then we'll go with it. But if it doesn't, then it's just a lovely idea. And you know.
But would you take the lead? If let's say they tick all 3, would you then take the lead and say, right, I'm going to deliver this project? Or would you be able to say to one of your team members, right, you're going to then deliver on this, report back to us on how we're getting on?
I would say that's where the passion bit comes into it. So if it's a really good project, then it might be like, right, okay, I'm passionate about it, but I don't have the capacity to deliver on this. So an example would be that within North East Cheer, within our programme, we've got a really big goal of creating 10 community hub sites. So we've got 3, so we started with North Tyneside, then we grew to Sunderland, we've got one in Newcastle, and we're going for 10 around the area. I led on the first one in North Tyneside. I looked at the capacity, how we needed to communicate with parents, what the impact on retention was, everything like that. I then was like, right, this is something that could be absolutely huge. It's definitely what we want to do. So then employed somebody to come in as a community manager within our business and kind of took that gamble on a member of staff. And I say gamble, it was calculated. She does some coaching, so you know, she's part of like income revenue, income generating within the business, but then the rest of her time is about growing the community sites. So then she's added Sunderland, she's been able to add Newcastle, and within that we're viewing sites, or she's running everything past us, but she's a really good person and has the right skill set to be able to take that vision and then just check in and do. So then we're moving on to the next one and the next one.
You know, you talk about vision as well. So vision can also feed into culture. So we have different levels of, different businesses, the Urban Factory as you mentioned, we have the Cheer, we have the Sports Connect, and we have the Community Hub. So we have 4 different revenue streams. do you have 4 different visions and 4 different cultures within those revenue streams, or do you try to stick to the same vision and same culture for each one?
So we used to have something called, well, we do still have something called the family values. So this was something that me and the team created like years ago, and we all came together in it, and we did like some tasks around what the values were, what we stood for, and it ended up like the letters and the words ended up spelling family, and it genuinely was like, for the people that were in on the day, it was genuinely something that built our culture up.
So for anyone that's kind of listening and thinking, I'm not sure what that means, we have F would be fun, A would be, I don't know, accessibility, and then
exactly that. So exactly that. So like everything that we had to do as a business has to be fun. We expect our staff to be accountable. We are mindful in our actions, innovative, lifelong learners, and then the why was like, why not? Yes, above.
So this is your motto.
And I'm very much still absolutely like stand by that myself. So that became the company, like the community network values, and Lindsay, who manages our other side, she really just takes the lead. I am absolutely in that privileged position where I just check in with her. She manages that team, and I don't need to get involved in the day-to-day. Same with the school sports side. Brian does that, leads on that. But within North East Shire and the Urban Factory, I am still very much hands-on, but that's because that's where the passion is, and that's where my, that lights my fire. And equally, that's what lights Lindsay's fire, for example, when she takes that lead over there. So, yeah.
And when we talk about challenges, we'll come back to the challenges side of things. Obviously, we've been in business technically 19 years, but we've had obviously the network, the community network for 10, 11 years, whatever it is. What challenges have you kind of faced, overcame, and what challenges do you think you're going to continue to come across?
So I think every level is a new level, isn't it? So every part and phase of your business growth just brings and presents new issues, and I don't think there'll ever be a time really in business where you're not faced with any challenges. Unless you're just stagnant, and then that's a problem in itself.
It is,
So over the years, for example, we've had, dealing with staff, grown from just having like 3 or 4 members of staff up to having the 30 that I've got across multiple sites. So that is tackled by just having an HR advisor who's there on retainer, drop her a call whenever I need to. So that is an important part. Then you've got, challenges with health and safety. So making sure that you've always got your policies and your procedures in place, because they don't matter until they matter. Like, it's them type of things that are just so important and are missed and overlooked. So having that person there to support. You've then had COVID. That had a huge impact on finances, staffing, sustainability, continuity, like all of those different things. So I guess the biggest thing that stands out for me is, I remember when we first set up the community network, and I brought that to you and was like, I've been given this amazing opportunity to take on a venue, and I was like, but I've looked at these figures, and there's like, I mean, this could be millions, like there's so much. And he just said to us, it's just numbers, by the way, it's just numbers. Don't be put off by it. And so if there's ever any finance challenges that come along within the business, especially in and around it, I was like, it's just numbers. Don't get yourself scared. But I would say definitely the biggest challenges of any business really is the customer service, how to continuously manage, review that. And we've just put like a massive survey out with parents to ask for some feedback, your staffing, your general policies, your business setup, and then finances.
So let's go on to the survey you just put up with the parents.
Yes.
How did you feel when you sent it? Were you nervous?
So we ask for feedback quite often. This is specifically within the Urban Factory. We do ask for feedback, but we wanted to do it as a big survey. So we were like, listen, if you do this, like, we're going to put £100 Amazon voucher on us. We really wanted the feedback. If
you didn't do that, would there be much engagement, do you think?
I think so. I think so, because I think the value that we value that feedback. So this just, at the minute, this one just went out with the chair parents. There's another one going out with the parkour side in a little bit later. So I had really good, had over 50% return.
That's alright, that's good. Good.
Really good. And I just presume those that haven't said anything just have nothing either way. Like
you never get 100% engagement. On the numbers that you're talking about, if you get 100% engagement, there's either something majorly wrong, or, well, I don't know, you've bribed them or something.
Absolutely. So for me, it's like, we really want this. Like, we really want the feedback. Like, we want to know how we can do better, or what we're doing well, or what perception or education we need to give the parents. So I'm about actually this afternoon to record the feedback for the parents so I can give that back to them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to split each question up and basically say, these are some examples of some great ideas that you've given us and we're going to run with them. These are some examples where maybe you just don't understand where we're coming from. So like if they'll say, why don't you do this? Like because of this.
Yeah.
And then here's some examples of outrageous outrageous ideas or comments that like we just need to clean up or whatever, you know. So I'm going to go through that and give parents feedback on the feedback because I think it's important that they get that as well.
Well, you're giving them stakeholder engagement, aren't you?
Yeah.
They're getting something back for whatever they're giving you as well.
And it was interesting because what it just demonstrated is where parents overall are really happy. They just want the kids to do the best that it can be. I mean, one parent did say, why don't I just get the parkour and move it into another venue so I can spread the cheerleading out. And I was like, I mean, it's not Lego, so we're going to just put it somewhere else. But also, who's paying for that venue and everything that goes into that. So that's an example of like, that's outrageous. But thank you, and this is why. But it's interesting to see the thought processes, and I think what we need to do more going into the next season is work on managing customer expectations or parent expectations, and I think that's a good lesson for all businesses, which is how can you, if you feel like you're getting a complaint, it's about lack of understanding. So let's focus on how we can manage expectations and better communicate that. And one thing that I've done a lot recently is work, because I now mentor other cheerleading business owners, so that's something that I just started.
Do you also get mentored?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've always had a mentor, always. I'm working with 2 different ones at the moment, because I think it's important to work
self-development.
And I don't think you can ask people to buy into you if you're not buying into yourself. So I do, and I also then mentor other business owners, cheerleading business owners. And one challenge or task that I've asked them to do at the minute is to take note of their own customer journey, themselves. So the type of things that they're experiencing, good, bad, ugly, as a customer or a consumer, and look at what lessons that can learn that and bring them back into their business. So an example was on holiday, me and my husband were having a meal, ordered a bolognese, as you do. The guy said, would you like some parmesan? Yes, as you would. But it was £2.50, like €2.50 euros for the parmesan. So I've now called these parmesan charges, like it's a real thing now, right? Because what I got us thinking is, actually, we expect that for free. We expect that complimentary with it. Do you want cheese? Yes. But that parmesan is a cost to that business, to that business owner that they're just consuming. But this guy is charging you £2.50 on my £10 bolognese for a little pot of parmesan, but it makes sense because it's costing him. Like, it isn't not costing him to do that. So the challenge is, as a business owner, like, what are your parmesan costs? Like, actually, what are you paying out for, or given as complimentary, or people are thinking as a service, that actually is costing yourselves, and as you're moving into getting new costs, how can you fix that? But then just in general, how can you look to your own experience as a customer or consumer to benefit your own business?
The customer experience is massively important, but also the business owner experience has to be very important. Because if the business is, well, let's say the business owner is just getting sick and tired of giving away everything for free and what have you, the labour of love suddenly becomes no love at all, and we get sick, and then we get just repetitive, and then we get out of it. And that's a big thing that we have to kind of overcome. So what you're doing is the correct way of thinking about it. We have to get paid for whatever we do, and this is kind of without industries, without cheerleading, accountancy, another. If we're doing a service and people have that one need, we have to be paid for it. That's the whole purpose. We're solving someone's problem.
Absolutely. And I think that as business owners, sometimes if they haven't got the help and support, then they don't actually know how to charge. They don't know how to find their costs. They don't know what to charge. They're just kind of plucking things out of the air and just expecting these things to operate as a business. Not all, but I'm just saying, at the start of the journey, this is how you might find yourself.
And a lot of people fall into businesses accidentally. They're very, very good at something, but that's what they're good at. So then they've got to take staff on. They're not good at management because they're very good at the technician part. They're not good at finding work, but they're very good at the technician part. Business owner has to then find their own journey. And unless they've got a mentor or an advisor to work with, it's very, very lonely and hard journey.
And when that business owner that started up their business because of a passion goes down the route of I've got to work on my business or in my business, and then they move themselves away from the thing that they're passionate about, they find themselves stuck in the numbers or in the figures and not really understanding. And then, you know, another trap is thinking that they have to be the cheapest. Like, we are absolutely not the cheapest, nor do I want to be, because one, that wouldn't allow me to keep the place running. It wouldn't allow us to support the amount of stuff that I do, but also it wouldn't allow us to be sustainable. And being cheap isn't your objective. You know, when you're a business owner, your job is to keep that business going and make and build it and make it
provide
thrive.
a product or a service that people need. And if you're undercharging and you know it's not happening, the customer's not getting their service or product that they want. You're not providing it because it's too cheap. Cheap is definitely not best.
And I think especially if you're in a service way, you are, you know, say for example, it's parents, for example, and they're very passionate about what they're investing in. It's not like they're going to the shop to get some milk or bread or whatever. They are investing in their child through you, and that is the biggest privilege that a parent can have. Like, it's such an honour that a parent's like, I am giving you, investing in you, and because you're going to give my child these skills or these life skills or whatever. But I feel like if the service that you are offering them as a parent for their child is of value to them, then the costs are actually irrelevant, because they're not paying for them to do cheerleading or sport or rugby or whatever. They're paying for their child to build confidence, meet new friends, you know, have experiences. And it's not about irrational charging. It's about charging the appropriate amount. And I think that for me, that's important as a business owner, but also to help other business owners as well.
A massive compliment to yourself, is it? Because on the next question I want to be asking is, how do you normally look to recruit the right team members? But I actually know that a lot of your team members come from you from being knee-high and have come through to be your team members. So they have the Rachel Lynch ethos, the mentoring and everything, and then you've got a ready-made employee. Now, obviously, in we'll say the normal world, shall we say, that doesn't normally happen. But you've developed that, and people want to be gravitate to you and say, right, I want to be with Rachel all the way through.
In particular, within my coaching program within North East Chair, every single one of them coaches has been through our program, every single one. And even within our admin staff, all but one within the admin team have been through the system, and the other one just holds the same values as me, is happy to achieve it doesn't feel like hard work, it's like she's part of the team. So I feel like having a system where you can, and I am fortunate because, you know, we're in a business where you're passing on the knowledge and then they can pass on their knowledge. But I think if I was to bring in other people, I would absolutely start with what their skill set are and also their values and their personality. I think the values and the personality are so much more important, and the energy that they can bring to something than the physical skills that they can do, because you can mould that later.
They've got to fit the same culture as what you're kind of looking to develop. And where do you think culture is born from?
I think it's born from the leadership team, and it's something that we're actually looking at now. Like, how do we take that to that next step? So I've actually just reached out to somebody that I've been following for a little while within the cheerleading industry to see if they would provide some additional mentorship in that area, because that is actually my focus, which is strange that you've raised that. And I was a bit nervous about reaching out, but it was somebody that I look up to, and I just thought, you know what, Shybane's getting out, so let's go for it. And they got back to me. I'm like, I like what they do, so I'm just going to ask them. And anyway, they got back to us within like a couple of hours and was like, absolutely love to do some work with you. They don't do it, it's not their job. But like, I just said, you know, I'm here as a business owner. I'm seeking a new avenue for mentorship, specifically around culture and coaching within your program. I've watched you from afar for a long time. I really like the culture that you've created in your program. And I'd like some support for myself. Is this something that you offer? No, but I will, thanks. Like, you know, so I think...
That's what you need, put yourself out of your comfort zone and ask that question, and let the terminology is right, Shybane's getting out. And to be fair, when we're business owners, we kind of are shy, we don't want to be... It's very rare that you see people ask for help, but really, we all need help.
Yeah, and I think I think one of my superpowers is identifying my strengths and my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like, I'm absolutely fine with saying that I'm terrible at, like, you absolutely won't get me filing anything in the business. Like, absolutely not. Like, as in, don't give it to Rachel is something that I said every day in the business. Because why do I want to file something? You know, like, I don't often reply to the group emails because that's just not where my skill set is. But I can only do that comfortably because I know where my skill set lies. And I think as a business owner, it's really important to understand where your strengths are, to be able to get the support in the areas that are, and it's not about a weakness, it's just like the areas that you're less passionate about, or the areas that don't really work for you in the business. And I think, or the areas that are challenging to you. And I think it is important to be able to do that and identify that. Seek the help.
You can't do anything. You can't do everything. Your skill set is much better at the top level, where it's the entrepreneurship of finding new ideas, nurturing team members coming through, generating the ideas and getting them out. If you spend all your time doing the filing or the basic bookkeeping or administration for you, where that's someone else's strength, then we lose that top level.
Yeah,
and we have to have that autonomy level as well, where you're the boss.
Yeah, and I think as well, my job is to always be navigating us and thinking, okay, where we're going now. So in our industry, there's some big changes with, like, age grades and things like that. And I'm looking ahead and thinking, how can we use this as an opportunity to switch direction and create new opportunities for the people? So I think my team as well expect that I'll always be coming up with the next change of direction. Not necessarily change of direction, but like, okay, where we're going now. Like, you know, we've got the gym, we've started building our community programs, we've got a world team, we're doing great internationally, but like, what do we now need to focus on?
Let's talk the worlds for a bit, because obviously I've seen a lot of my friends' kids who've done it as well. Tell us about the worlds. What does this entail? So
in cheerleading, there's a few international competitions, and this has been something that's been quite challenging for us to explain as well, because you've got something called the Summit, which is in America, and that's for your lower level teams, and then you've got the World Championships, which is for your higher level teams, and there's a lot of teams that have been able to be successful and get bids to the Summit for them lower level teams, but that day that we got our first Worlds bid was just like the biggest deal ever, because it was something that me and Stacey had sat down and was like, right, 3 years time we want to get to this point, 5 years time we want to get to this point, and really putting the effort in and nurturing it. But to be at the highest level in your country competing against the best of the best is just like amazing. And that's our commitment as a programme, is to continue to produce high level teams, high level athletes. So yeah, it has been amazing.
And what level did you get to?
So there's 7 levels in cheerleading at and the world, the cheerleading worlds are for levels 5, 6 and 7, so they consider the world levels. So our girls are at level 5, and it's a choice. So like, you would, to go each level, the skills are capped, if that makes sense. So we could be world champions at level 5, if that was something that, you know, that would be our goal. We could have a separate team at level 6, we could have another team at level 7. So yeah,
it's an incredible achievement, whichever way you look at it.
It's unbelievable.
You guys get to go to, is it Disney when they go to as well, and perform there as well? So it's a massive thing, a big opportunity that you're giving your team.
But we also have to manage that as well, you know, because obviously at world level, we're highly likely to get repeated bids to go back and back. The same with our summit teams, but there has to be a time where, I think there's a lesson in here, which is like, how often do you just keep going and keep going back to the same thing without looking at, actually, is this what's next, but also, is it financially sustainable for my parents to continuously pay out to go to America and do the same thing again and again and again? So that's forming part of our, like, what do we actually really want to do over the next couple of years.
That's a challenge you've got to overcome as well, isn't it? Because every business has challenges of different types. Constantly.
And I think it's like, it's a good thing. It's like, okay, we can go back to America, but do we want that focus there, or do we want to put our focus into something else that makes us different and better? Do you know what I mean?
Over the course of the 19, or more specifically the 11 years, has there been a moment in time when you thought, I've either got to change, otherwise we're going to kind of go down, or I'm going to change just to get massive growth? Obviously, we know about the Urban Factory, but has there just been a distinctive moment that happened?
I think a few. I think that point before I got the factory and I went to Dallas and I did that stuff there, I think that was a point in time where I was like, this can't be it.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be more. And I think there has been multiple ones along the journey, and I think coming out of COVID, we made a decision as a club to be like, right, we could either pick up where we left off straight after COVID, or we could make a big structure change and jump ourselves ahead. And actually it was in that moment that we made the decision and communicated with our parents, said, we're not going to do what most people are going to do and pick up where we left off and do this. We're rebooting the system. It's going to be hard. You might not see the same type of success in competition, but we're doing it for the great again. And then off the back of that, that's where we were able to
did you have the foresight that this was what was going to
Yeah,
happen?
and
we've got to shrink to go back.
Yeah, that is exactly it. Like, we had to say that to our parents, and thankfully we did, because that season that we made that change, oh my God, was it the hardest season of our lives. And I remember me and Stacey thinking, oh my God,
have we done the right thing?
Have we done the right thing? Is this the right thing? Because it was a challenge for the girls. But because we'd communicated that with the parents, I mean, some of the parents were like hashtagging trust Rachel, kind of like having a joke about it, because like, just trust the process, she knows what she's doing. Right. But off the back of that, we were able to get 2 summit bids and a world's bid, and then off the back of that, again, the success that the teams then had this season in America was amazing. Yeah. Like, both teams at the summit getting the finals, both teams having clean routines. Like, that doesn't always happen. You know, there are teams that like invest all this time, get all the way to America, and they're only there for one day. Yeah. And it's so difficult for them. So we were able to do the right thing. That journey started like 22 to be able to get to that point. And that's where we are again. Like, what are we doing next? Do you know what I mean?
What is next? Or can you really dive
No,
we're
busy planning. Yeah, we're busy planning. We're going to be communicating that through to the parents, but it's always a change. And it's, see, the parents that have been with you for a while, they're used to it. They're like, okay, this is where we are. They get excited about it. The new parents that came in before change, like after the change, but in this middle time, they freak out a bit because they're like, what is she doing? This is all we know. Yeah. But, you know, once they're there for 10 years, they're like, okay, this happens. And this is a cycle. So we'll see.
So we're talking planning as well. When do you plan? How do you plan? And what do your plans look like?
I go with a no plan. I'm joking.
Right.
No, I don't. In terms of real planning, that has to be when, that is for me like the summertime, or when I'm on holiday, when my brain isn't consumed with the day-to-day management.
And are you by yourself when you're doing this planning in essence? Or do you sit around the table with your main coaches and things, or how does it work?
So when I'm thinking about the vision, that is myself thinking, like, and getting them ideas about down, like, where do we want to take the business next, what do we want to do? But then I'll bring that to the team and be like, okay, these are the things that I'm thinking about, let's plan in around that. How do we execute the plan? That's brought to the team. We'll always have like a Christmas get together with everybody where we're looking at like the bigger picture. On a weekly basis for myself personally, I'll actually sit on a Tuesday, random day I know, but on a Tuesday I normally sit and go through and look at what is happening in my next week ahead, because I work a Sunday, so I feel like
is Monday your kind of day off sort of thing? And kickstart Tuesday?
I'm in the office, but I feel like Monday's like our firefighting day. We're kind of picking up emails, we're catching up with everybody. A good few of myself are off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or off Friday, Saturday. We're all coaching Sunday, so Monday's never a good day to sit and plan. It's always that time, and I think the lesson is like we don't have to do what is the norm. Like, you don't have to come in 9 o'clock on a Monday morning and do your planning for the week if that's not how your work structure works. It could be Friday afternoon if that works best for you. Fridays are the day I focus on the finances. I'm not in the business, but I get my head into all of that and have a look at that. And I'm normally planning what else has to happen for me on my Tuesdays, because that just works for me.
Do you set yourself goals? And do you also kind of let the team take onus of quite a few things? So in a team meeting, for example, would you be saying, right, I'm going to set the topic away, team, you get back to us, or do you tend to lead the full conversations?
So we'll set KPIs, we'll have a look at that. And another thing that we've done differently is instead of working in quarters, we'll work in thirds. So we'll work September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Okay. May, June, July, August, because that just works better for us, and it gives us that little bit longer to get our head into goals and KPIs and working through all of that. It just works better, and it honestly has been the biggest change. I know it's rogue, total rogue, but it really does work, and it works because we're an industry that works around like school terms. It just helps. So we will, on our whiteboard in the office, we'll literally have the quarters of the month, and we're looking specifically at the KPIs and what we're doing, and be able to identify them on a month-to-month basis, how we're getting there.
Yeah.
So we do that as
and
well.
Who looks after that kind of reporting function? Would they report to you, or are you heavily involved in the reporting function?
So we have a big spreadsheet that's shared by those that deal with the data in the business, and they all have different areas that they would look at. So it could be like subscriptions of members, it could be empty spaces in classes, it could be number of people that have added to our community programs, inquiries that we've had. The list that we track is quite big, but each staff member deals with them smaller ones, and I'll review them as we're going, and if there's any red flags, I'll just be like, that doesn't look right, is the data right or is it not right, or whatever. But then on my whiteboard, that's like my big headline KPIs, so to speak. Like, these are the things that we really need to focus on, and they might change from third to third, because they might be like, okay, what do we need to focus on next year? Like in that next 4 months, what do we need to focus on? What are our goals? And I would just wait with a few small team members for that. What are the goals for the next third? Get them up on the whiteboard and ready to go. So
and obviously, every industry sector has trends.
Yeah.
And changing trends, and being ahead of the trend, and being ahead of the curves where we need to be.
Yes.
If you kind of step back and said, right, Rachel Lynch, where do we think Rachel is on the trend setting? Are we a trend setter? Are we a trend follower? Where do we kind of tend to be? Or is there no trends that you follow, and it's just a case of, right, I'm going for it?
No, I think there is trends in our industry for talking specific cheerleading. I definitely think there is. I think because of the facility that we've got, the size of the programme, I think people would obviously look towards what we're doing to see how we're doing it, and that's, that was compounded by when I launched my membership programme. So many teams came on board because they want to know how we've grown. They want to know how I can launch a programme in Newcastle and have a waiting list of 250 within 4 weeks. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to know? Who doesn't want to know how we do that? But we've got our own method. So I think we are ahead of the game in that respect. But then we look at other programmes and kind of think, okay, that's an amazing idea. How can you utilise concepts of that within your own?
But you only do that by experience, and Connie. It's talking to people, and it's meant to get mentored off people. It's to find out what they're doing.
Yeah,
really well.
I think the trends in our industry are around the competition environment, like what the kids putting on the floor, whereas we're looking ahead to different trends within business and stuff like that. I wouldn't always look even within our industry. I'd be looking elsewhere to find out what is working elsewhere, which I think is important. Yeah,
and then marketing. How do you kind of market the cheerleading side, also the urban factory, and everything that you do? How do you market it?
So we do a lot via email marketing, like that is it. So we have our social media posts, but whenever we're going through, we'll try as much as possible to capture people's email addresses. So we launched a Ninja program a few months ago, no social media posts, full 40 spaces with one email. Right. Because they're qualified, that they're ready for something. So that's a lot of what we would do. But then we'll have open and close campaigns throughout the whole year, really. So like we would just be like, when are we ready to recruit? Who are we ready to recruit? What is our target audience for this campaign? What is our goal for the campaign? And then how we're going to execute the campaign. So it could be, okay, we're going to do a 2-week block intro for cheerleading. So we're going to offer them 2 weeks of classes. And we're going to start advertising 4 weeks in advance for this 2-week block. Who do we want to target? Let's look at the classes that we want to start filling. Let's offer them a choice of, say, 5 different classes that they can attend and build it up like that. So we'd always be looking at, who is it that we're trying, if we're doing a full marketing campaign, who is it that we're trying to target, where they're going to be.
And will you base that on the coaches and what their ability is first to kind of look after age groups and specialisms and things like that? Or is it a case of, this is what I want to put on, the coaches are going to have to fill in with what we do? So
we've got a schedule of classes that new members can join, like our beginners program. So we would be looking at which from them beginners have moved into, say, competition, and where's the gaps for new members to come in, rather than like drip feeding them throughout the year.
Okay. So when you're kind of reviewing all this, it's with the aim of competition. So get this child from this level to this level.
Yes.
And that's how we're going.
So we basically have a funnel of people, it is like a funnel or a pyramid, as we would do, for the parents to, that entry level is a beginner's, a recreational, then they've moved through to something called novice, which is they get to compete, but they don't get a first, second, third, they get like superior, outstanding, so it's really good introduction. Yeah. Then there's prep level, which is like another set of skills. Then there's elite, then there's international, and our absolute philosophy as a club is to bring them through from recreational and send them up to international level. So
I want to ask you a question about success. I know you're successful, right? But how do you value success, and what does it actually look like to you? Because success for different people is completely different, and everyone's is correct. There's no right answer. Yeah. It's just how it looks to yourself and how do you value it.
Genuinely, success to me is I've created amazing opportunities for the kids. Like, that is it. So if I've created an experience or a memory or something like that, then that is my success criteria. Like, absolutely. So the numbers, the money, everything is as a result of what we then create through success, I believe. So I think that's the foundations of the business and everything that we do. I think many of our parents within our program would say the same, like the experiences.
Which fulfills the family.
Yeah,
model.
Absolutely. And then, so that's like my business one, but the second one would, for me, would be to create that same philosophy for my kids. Like, I want them to feel like they've created opportunities, or that I've created opportunities for them. So as a business owner, my goal isn't like, to have this type of car or this and this. I just want to be able to provide like a generational wealth for my kids. Like, I want to be able to support them. That is my goal.
Yeah.
So.
And are we on that? Are we on the path to doing that?
Yeah, I think the kids are technically classed as middle class now, because.
Actually, I've heard that one, but yeah. Okay.
Well, this is who said it? It's somebody said it. I've nicked it off something, but it's like basically like we're working class. Yeah. We are working class. We've done our best. We've grafted, we've seen our parents graft, we've done everything we can, but now our parents, our kids are... Okay, so yeah, this middle class concept is like working class parents who have, done well for themselves, moved themselves up, maybe it's a financial grade, but then the kids haven't seen that working class environment, so they are thinking they're middle class, but really they're middle class, because we are like, you are spoiled, but really that's all they know, that's where that conflict comes from with your kids, where like we're at a cheerleading competition in Blackpool. So where do you stay in Blackpool? A B&B. Yeah. Of course you do. Yeah. So we walks into this.
Is there any hotels in Blackpool? I don't know if there's.
Well, I don't think so. But all of the parents and everyone else was so excited to be in this proper Blackpool B&B, and my daughter walks in and said, "Mum, what's this?" And I was like, it's a Blackpool B&B. And she was like, "You have worked too hard in your life to be here. I should be down the road." And I was like, "Are you having a laugh?" Oh, no. Then all the parents were coming down and like laughing and getting excited about like the paisley floor and this, that and the other. And she was like getting herself all wound up and like laughing at her. But I think for me though, it's just providing opportunities for young people, but then also be able to provide sustainability for more kids as well.
So you've built a brand, or you're building the brand as well, continuing on, but there's also a brand within Rachel Lynch.
Yes.
And it comes from leadership, so obviously people are kind of gravitating to yourself, and I know that there's other cheerleading coaches who really aspire to be you and want to follow kind of what you're doing. What do you say is your leadership style?
I think my leadership style is to help those other leaders find their passion and find their fire inside of them, find their confidence, find their belief. So a lot of the coaches now that I'm mentoring, it's about the confidence that I'm giving them to be able to do it. And I think that's my style, is just to be able to unpick their potential, unpick their fire in their bellies, just kind of like stop all that plate spinning and be able to help them create like that vision.
And one of the final things that go on is work-life balance. So bearing in mind, you're a busy mum, you've got technically 4 strands of business. Yeah. You've got a husband who works as a head coach at Sunderland. You've got 2 kids. Yeah. What's your work-life balance like, and how do you find time to fit everything in?
Well, it used to be horrendous, like it really was, but I've just realised that actually if I don't provide a better balance for myself, then I can't provide a better balance for like other people around us. And there's 2 things that I always think about. One, do I want my kids to think that life has to be like this. Like, what example am I setting my kids? So I always remember one holiday, it was years ago, and my daughter said, Mum, you know, when I grow up, during the day I want to be a teacher, and then in the afternoon I want to be a baker, and then in the night time I want to run a bar. And I was like, do you have to run all three? And she was like, well, you do. And I was like, oh my God. And it was like that reality of like my child thinks that you have to do multiple things. So that set something off in my head, which is like, what are we role modeling to our kids? Do we want to be stressed, burnt out? Because what we role model to them is what is going to pass on to them, and then they believe is normal, and that's not what I want. So
you've hit on a very, very important point there, actually. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and it's regarding how we handle money. So we're Northeast kids. Typically it's save, don't spend, keep it, because we don't have a great deal. But then when it changes into we have money, it's still the same. People are kind of fearful of it, and we pass that fear over to our kids. And so you've just had a very much point there on the same work-life balance of work. In an ideal world, if we can train kids about money and about work, which is what you're trying to do as well, work less, make more, enjoy more, life will be better.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to that working class side as well, like, which was work. Like, my mum and dad worked all of the time. But in a different way to me, because I'm, you know, just all over creating things. But it's about what do I want to show my kids, but also because I work with so many young people, do I want them to see that too? Like, do I want them to think that then is normal? And so I think it's about like, who are you showing up for, and what do you want it to look like? Like, if some people feel guilty taking that rest, or guilty, it's like it doesn't have to be about you. It could be about who are you role modeling to, and when you reflect that away from you, then it's easier to then accept. And it's the same when business owners really struggle to have money, or they have like limiting beliefs about how much they should be charging. It's like, okay, take yourself out of it. What do you want to provide for your kids? What opportunities do you want? You know, what experience do you want your new customers to have? What do you want to provide for your parents, your husband? Like, what can you do when you put it away from yourself about you earning the money, but what you're providing for other people? Then I think that then becomes easier as well.
So going back to kind of when you first started, is there anything that you would have changed? So I'm going to ask you two questions. Is there anything that you would have changed from the time that you've been doing it, and what would you have told yourself when you pretty much a 20-year-old self at the time? What would you have told you?
So what I would do differently is, and I think this is a go-to for mine, is I would have liked to have started building the foundations as if we were going to be this big right at the start. So like, not just kind of muddling along and growing as I went, but actually going, do you know what, like, this could be massive, so what systems and structures do I need in place now? And that's always my top advice to anybody, is like, think big from the start. So now, even when we're launching something, that is how we do it. Like, think, like, how big could this be? What process or system do we need in now for it to be able to get that? But that's my growth mindset and thinking, how far can this go?
Yeah, love that.
So I think that is important. And then what was the second part of that question?
What would you have told your 20-year-old self that you know now? I
would have said, that is a really good one, because actually...
And what would you have told yourself, you say your 20-year-old self?
Well, that's an interesting one, because, you know, when people say to you, like, who would you like to have a meal with? You know, if we could sit down, I always say I'd love to have, the two people would be me in my younger years and me in my older years, so I could chat about, like, I'd love to be able to see myself and see my enthusiasm back then, to be able to, like, almost learn from her again. Like, I don't want to give that person advice, I want that person to give me the advice and be like, can you remember when you had all this enthusiasm? Because as you get older, like, life batters you down, doesn't it? Like, back then, you are the whippersnapper, you are like that person.
That's a really interesting take. If everyone I've ever asked that to, no one's ever said that. Oh, really? No, so that's a really interesting take, but it's very, I completely agree as well.
I just think as we get older, we do get wiser, we get more cautious, we take less risks, and I feel like I'd love to check in on her and be like, how are you? Get going. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got it.
That is brilliant. Well, I'm going to film something just afterwards as well, so stay tuned for part 2 of this one. There'll hopefully be a big announcement coming. But Rachel, thank you very much for that. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I'll catch up with you very soon.